to another episode of the Rescue Report. It's been an exciting week for animals in Frankfurt. Mabel, a shelter favorite, was adopted after spending 876 days at the shelter. Mabel finally found her forever home. Congratulations, Mabel, and to her new family. Thank you for adopting her. The Franklin County Humane Society started work on their new shelter on February 1st. Work began on a home for Franklin County shelter pets. Hopefully by Christmas, the animals will have a home outside of the Kentucky River floodplain. Also in Franklin County, thanks to the Frankfurt Police Department and a team of volunteers organized by Barbara Murray and Earl Adams, a disabled vet was reunited with his service dog, who was missing for 3 days. Dorcas had an adventure, but now she's safely back at home. In August 2021, the world learned about a small rescue operating out of the Afghan capital city of Kabul. After 5 months of working to evacuate the animals left behind, Mission Possible finally took flight on January 30th. I had the honor of trying to rescue director Charlotte Maxwell-Jones. And a new twist, I became the interviewee. In the first of a 2-part series, Charlotte details the efforts that went into moving almost 200 animals across the world. Hi, I'm Ethan of Ethan's Rescue Pet Project, and today I'm talking to Charlotte Maxwell-Jones of Kabul Small Animal Rescue, or KSAR. Charlotte is really awesome, by the way.
Well, I think Ethan's really awesome. Well, hello, Ethan. It's really nice to talk to you today.
Nice to talk to you, too. So, tell me a little bit about what KSAR does.
Well, KSAR started out as a very small rescue, and what we've turned into is pretty big, but we'll keep going with it. So, what we do is we provide veterinary care for animals in Afghanistan. It doesn't matter who they're owned by. And we also provide veterinary care and rescue for a lot of homeless animals, little orphaned animals. So anytime we see an animal in need, we try to care for it. And then we also try to rehome them. And we used to do a lot of rehoming here in Afghanistan, but it's a bit unstable here right now. So we're trying to do all of our rehoming outside of here. And right now we have about 85 staff, and we have maybe 13 different facilities all in the same neighborhood. So we're pretty big, and we're trying to consolidate that a little after our big evacuation. But the intake just keeps coming. So we're a very busy organization.
Cool. What was the farthest that KSAR's traveled to treat an animal?
So back when NATO was here, we used to do a lot of rescues for Puppy Rescue Mission, which worked with U.S. soldiers. And I think we rescued from Mazar-e Sharif in the north, from Farah down in the southwest, and from Kandahar and Helmand. And so I flew down to Kandahar a few times, and then we had drivers go out to these places. We also went to Jalalabad out in the east. So we've done a lot of coverage around the country.
Awesome. Could you tell us a little about Mission Possible? And what were some challenges you encountered?
So Mission Possible was, I think it's the hardest thing that we've ever done. And it started because we tried to evacuate all of our staff and animals in August, and we were not able to. Some of our staff got out then, others have left since then, but our animals didn't make it out then. And many of them were taken by the US military and released onto the airfield. And then we didn't have any planes land. So in September and October, we had to really regroup, and it took us months to work on getting back into the airfield and finding all the animals. And I think you know that we didn't find all of them. And some of them had really sad endings, but we have found a ton of them. And then we started working on finding a plane out of here. So we had to get permission from the US government and also from the new Taliban government. So then we worked with Canadian partners to get all of the paperwork in order for what turned out to be 286 animals. We made crates. We had a great carpenter make crates. We made labels. We got everybody set. And the logistics of it, like the final days of logistics, were, I think, the hardest thing that we've ever done. Because we had to make sure that every single truck was not going to break down on the road on the way there. We had everything measured. We had extra trucks, extra cars. We had to send in all of the IDs and plate numbers for everything. We had to get escorts into the airport. It was a massive operation, and we had about 40 staff with us at the airport that day. And then we had to load everything into a giant Russian plane. I think you know it's the Ilyushin 76.
Yeah.
And it looked like a really big plane at first, and at the end we could barely fit everything in. And it came down to the wire with Derek saying 13 minutes till air traffic control closes at one point. So it was pretty crazy. And then there was much longer layover in Turkey than we thought. But we got a veterinary team in there, and then the same thing in Iceland with another veterinary team. And then they finally landed in Vancouver at around, I think, just around 6 p.m. Vancouver time on February 2nd. And there's a huge team of rescues in Canada. And it's led by the SPCA International and Thank Dog I Am Out and Rain Coast Dog Rescue, as well as Marley's Mutts. And then there's a ton of other receiving rescues in the US, especially for cats. And they've been doing intake and caring for all of these animals since they arrived. But getting all of those details right, that was really hard, because it was one of those things where it wasn't going to work if just 99.9% of it worked. So it had to be everything. And it was, I think none of us on this end slept very much for the past month. This is the one who's yowling right now. Buddy. Yeah, I know. Oh. Let's go down here. So that's the story of Mission Possible, and it's still ongoing in Canada. The Canadian partners are going to be working night and day for months on this, working on rehoming and getting everybody to their original owners, because a lot of them are refugees that aren't there yet.
Incredible. So could you tell me about some of the dogs and cats that are now in Canada?
Yeah. Well, I think everybody knows that some of the ones that really got into my heart are there now. So my little kitten Bengo is at her home with her new adopter, and she's settling in wonderfully. And then there's Bia, and Bia was the dog that I was able to carry out of the airport on August 30th, and I didn't know if she'd survive then. And instead of being a tiny little, 5-kilo puppy with bent arms, she's now a giant big dog with a big curly tail, and she's running around, and she is doing beautifully there. She doesn't have an adopter lined up yet, but we've got quite a few applications for her. And she's doing magnificently. And who else do we have? We have a ton of dogs that had originally been scheduled to fly out in August. So we had some from 2 other rescues in town, a lot of older dogs, and they've had, they were a little nervous on the flight, but the team in Canada has made them feel very, very at home. Then there's also Teddy, who's a big chow chow, and he looks like a giant fluffy lion. And we've been his veterinarians here for years in Kabul, and so now we get to introduce him to the rest of the world, because all he wants to do is cuddle, and his hair is about like 10 inches long, and he looks like a big, sweet bear lion. And he's there with his two kitty friends, and they will get rabies titer tests, which is a blood test to show that they've been given a rabies vaccine. And then they'll be on their way to Turkey to their owner.
Good. So how can someone adopt one of the pets from KSR?
I think SPCA International is handling all of the adoptions from of our animals. So they would go to the SPCA website and put in an adoption request. And I think it's taking them a little time to get to people because there's so many. And that's also how people can go in and volunteer as well.
So what's next for KSR?
Good question. Right now we have about, close to 160 animals, I think, after intake today. About 60 of them are dogs that somebody tried to take out of Afghanistan in a really bad way. So we're taking care of them and getting them healthy again. And then a lot of the rest are puppies. So they're too young to travel now, but they will be able to travel pretty soon. And then we've got a lot of older dogs as well that we've taken in as rescues, including Gibson and Zeus, both of whom followed one of our workers home. So ideally, we will start sending those out pretty soon. We'll start sending cats to the U.S. as soon as we can. We're hoping that one of the local airlines here is doing flights through Dubai soon. I'd really like to avoid doing a flight that big again because it was a whole lot of work, and it was pretty much the most stressful thing I've ever been a part of. But the airline that we worked with, the charter company, the operator, they made it as easy as possible. And so if we have to, we'll do it again, ideally with a smaller number of animals. So the other thing that we're doing is we're working with all of the canine dogs out at the airport that the Taliban government has, and we're making sure that they're fed, that they have medical care, that they have heaters in all of their kennels, that they're treated well. We can't do any training with them because that's not in our license, but we can train the handlers in terms of how to take care of animals a lot better. And then we're just going to continue rescuing here. And because a lot of our experienced staff left, we're going to be bringing in veterinarians to do more training here so that we've got as state-of-the-art facility as possible. We're going to start fundraising so that we can get some diagnostic equipment because it's really, really hard to run a veterinary clinic when we have no way to diagnose, to like do blood tests and do fecal tests and do any sort of testing at all. So I think we've got a whole lot to keep us busy.
Cool. Thank you for talking with me.
Well, you're very welcome.
Charlotte's an amazing person. Tune in tomorrow when she interviews me about my efforts to get recognition for shelter animals in Kentucky. And now it's time for this episode's featured pet. Shaun has been at the shelter almost as long as Mabel. He has been at the Franklin County Humane Society 22 months. He is looking for a home where he is the only pet. much for tuning in. Please come back tomorrow when you can see the second part of my interview where Charlotte interviews me. Thank you, and remember,